Yeah, well, we are officially 36 days away from October 5th as we record this, and it's right around the corner, but it's been a really fun experience as a project that we thought we could all get together one time and collaborate and do something fun and different, hopefully, and something that the fans enjoy. That's number one in our goals here. But this is something that kind of just came about while we were all sitting in the midst around 2:30 in the morning at a nightclub in Orlando for Wale Mania, and I'm sitting there with Wale and a few other people, Mr. St. Laurent, Alex Greenfield, and we're all sitting there and we're thinking, this is a lot of fun doing Wale Mania, which is like a podcast and an after party, and Wale performs, and it goes until like 3:30 in the morning. It spills out into the streets every WrestleMania week. It's like kind of like the kickoff party for WrestleMania weekend. And long story short, we said, this is fun, but it'd be cool to like maybe finally do that thing we've talked about doing and do a one-shot MLW wrestling event. And that's kind of the term we used, was calling it a one-off, one-shot. And for at least 2 or 3 years, Wale and I had been talking about doing something like this, but he's put out albums with Jerry Seinfeld and been really busy doing a lot of cool projects. Just did something with Judd Apatow. That's going to drop, I think, in January. So it was just between that, having kids and stuff, we couldn't get our schedules to sync up. And lo and behold, we both had a gap this fall to make it happen when we said, listen, if we're going to do it, we got to do it now, because good Lord, who knows when we're going to do it. So that's how it all came together, and we were just really fortunate enough to surround ourselves with great talent like Ricochet, Shane Strickland, MVP, Sami Callihan, and Jeff Cobb, former Olympian, and UFC fighter Tom Lawler, and a lot of other guys we have yet to announce. So they make my job easy because they're just rock stars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we all remember MLW as kind of being an alternative when you guys were operating. But to hear that you're coming back, and with all the success that you have in the podcasting world, and, I mean, I've been listening to MLW radio since, I have to say, probably the first episode. I mean, I even remember the little series you had with the Ultimate Warrior with MSL right there at the beginning, which has got to be, second, third, fourth episode that you even published. But for you to bring it back is very cool, MLW. And for the one-shot event, the latest announcement being the Tom Lawler inclusion, I mean, it's just really cool to see that, again, you're doing something that was kind of out of the ordinary. So you have a pretty damn good match on paper with Jeff Cobb, who we just had on the show not too long ago, and Tom Lawler. And that's the flavor I think MLW always presented. So getting back in the booker's chair and putting this together, are there guys that you were looking at directly for this show, or was this something that you kind of felt together more, it came together more organically?
There are definitely guys that I wanted to either work with again or work with and collaborate with. Case in point, Sami Callihan, who's just so creative, and he's everywhere now. He's one of the hardest working men as a free agent in wrestling, and had an opportunity briefly to work with Shane Strickland when I was consulting for Lucha Underground and AAA, but really not hands-on, more from afar. And a lot of these guys do. The same goes with Ricochet, too. That's where I first met him. Just super talented guys. And there are guys that are on my list of guys I wanted to work with. And it's funny, because Tom Lawler and I were kind of, I don't say we worked together, but about 10 months ago, I was exec producing a UFC Fight Pass event in upstate New York, and he was cornering a fighter, Julian Marquez. And so we were sitting there in the lobby talking about wrestling, and he was telling me about, we've known each other for a long time. I actually got him into Ring of Honor to do that thing with O'Reilly and Fish, where he was the corner man when I was consulting for Ring of Honor. So there's a lot of connective tissue to a lot of the guys we've worked with or are going to work with. And it's just a lot of fun. Like Jeff Cobb's another great guy. I haven't really worked with him hands-on, but he is just first class all the way and a world-class athlete.
And again, one of the things about MLW that I remember at that point, if it was filling the void for WCW and ECW, it was definitely, the Orlando version of what we were seeing up in the Northeast with ROH, and seeing just a collection of cool matches and stuff maybe that you wouldn't think about on paper. So to see it come back again, just as a fan, is very, very cool. But, if you had guys that you did want to pick, that's one thing. But putting yourself back in that chair to start planning matches and going over it, Is that something that you were always kind of looking back at getting towards, or is that another thing that just kind of happened again organically because now you've got so many great wrestling people around you with this MLW empire that you've built?
Yeah, I'm really privileged to have guys like MSL and Alex, all these guys, plus being able to bring Tony Schiavone and Rich Bocchini into the mix as our announce team was fantastic. Tony, for the first time in 16 years, returning ringside, calling the action. He'll be live in Orlando calling. He's not going to call it in the studio somewhere else. He'll be live there. It's such a great honor to have Tony, who's turned down so many requests to come back over the years, finally come back. And he's part of the MLW Radio Network. He kind of had to. But Rich, too. Rich is a great get, having done so much great work with NXT. To me, he is the definitive voice of NXT still, even having left there over a year ago. But getting back to the creative part, I had been a part of creative teams, and I just never felt very satisfied with my own experience there, but also didn't feel like we really accomplished what Vince McMahon wanted us to, because I didn't think that kind of dynamic worked. So approaching this project, this experiment, to me it was, I'm going to go old school, like I was taught by my mentor, Gary Hart, and learning under Terry Funk during MLW. And that is to have a booker and you have an assistant booker, and that's all you really need. And from my personal experience, that really is all you need, because I've seen the committee thing and it really just never works. So I think we have a more distinct path in where we're going with everything, and I feel, unlike where you see sometimes things take random turns, you'll have a definitive beginning, middle, and end to what we're going to do with these stories like MLW 360, which kind of is chronicles the main event, and you see Ricochet and Strickland on their path to October 5th at MLW One Shot, and you see how this starts as a friendship, and we'll see where it goes from week to week, as we'll be dropping like 2 to 3 minute episodes where you get to go inside the real lives of these guys, and you learn about Ricochet and where he's at in his career, and on a personal level, and the same goes for Strickland.